And our opening words this morning are by Amy Friedman. Once more, the earth has turned toward the light of the sun. As we are bathed in the light of a new day, so may we greet the dawning of fresh possibility. Once more, we awaken from our slumber. As our bodies rise to meet the challenges and pleasures of living, so may our hearts and minds open with promise. Once more, we gather for worship. As we join our voices in word and song, so may this assembly bring forth wholeness. Come, let us worship. This morning I offer a prayer by my colleague in New Orleans, Melanie Morrill-Ensminger. And at the end, there is a time for us to lift up names of those we are praying for. After our spoken prayer and a time of quiet meditation, we'll sing together Spirit of Life, which is printed in your order of service. Let us draw our hearts and minds together in a spirit of quiet and prayerful meditation and reflection, breathing deeply, relaxing our bodies, releasing from our minds and hearts all the mundane matters of the week just past, and refusing, if only for this brief time together, to shoulder the burdens of the week to come. Let us be together, breathe together, and draw strength and comfort and challenge from this gathered community of liberal faith. Let us remember that in spite of all of life's challenges, we are not alone, but part of a supportive and affirming community where we can celebrate together in life's good times, mourn together life's losses, and care for one another in life's difficult moments. Even as we release mundane concerns from our minds, the bills, the errands, the to-do lists, let us focus our hearts and minds outside of ourselves on those among us in this church, in our community, and in our world who need our attention. I invite you to call out the names of those who need our prayers. We will hold them and you in our hearts. Amen. Our reading this morning is by David O. Rankin. After a worship service, I was greeting people in the reception line. "Congratulations," she said. "You read his poetry very well." "Thank you," I replied. "Of course, he was not always a happy man," she continued. "His life was a struggle. Hope was hard-won. Even in the end, if he affirmed anything at all, it was a yes, maybe." "You seem to know a lot about him," I said. "Not everything," she replied, "but I am his daughter." It was 1974, the 100th anniversary of his birth. We were talking about Robert Frost. If you are a yes type of person, you may not understand Robert Frost. He does not speak well to the once born, to the buoyant and optimistic, to those who are blessed with a happy hope and a cheerful faith. If you are a no type of person, you may not understand Robert Frost. He does not speak well to the life-denying, to the cynical or nihilistic, to those who lack a candle of hope and a spark of faith. But if you are on the edge, a yes, maybe type of person, wrestling with the inner demons, searching to find the meaning of life, clinging with your fingernails to a dim hope and a fragile faith, then you will understand Robert Frost. He is your Advent poet. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. That is Robert Frost, of course. Advent poet to those of us who understand what yes, maybe is all about. We've just passed through the season of graduation celebrations. I've always thought it was curious how often Robert Frost is quoted in graduation speeches. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, proclaim young valedictorians and seasoned speakers alike. And I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. They quote those final lines as if they are emblematic of America's individualistic spirit of adventure. They quote them as if they are written by a yes type of man, full of happy hope and optimistic faith in the future. They quote them as if they have not read the rest of the poem. And perhaps they haven't, because if they had read the rest of the poem, they would have realized that this is no poem to be read at graduations, to a room full of tender young hopefuls just starting out their journeys. They would have realized that this poem is not one to read on the occasion of sending forth our young people into the world. That this poem is not about individualistic spirit of adventure. If they had read the rest of the poem, they would have realized that this is a poem about regret. Reading this poem at graduations is like telling that room full of young people, whatever choices you make, my dears, you will always wonder if that was the right one. And perhaps this will be true for them and for their future, but I hope not. Regret can be an agonizing thing. Regret can keep us up at night, picturing those two roads over and over again, wondering what would have happened if we had only chosen the other. When I was a little girl, I used to love reading those choose-your-own-adventure books. Remember those? They were so satisfying because you could make choices, turn left or right, choose the blue door or the red door, and follow the consequences of your choice to the end of the story or to the next point of decision and see where it got you. But then you could turn the pages back and choose the other option and follow that choice to its narrative fulfillment. It was wonderful to relive the story with the same beginning but different middles and ends each time. A favorite movie of mine explores this idea also. In Sliding Doors, Gwyneth Paltrow's character is running for the train and just misses it. As the train is pulling away, we see that, wait, she did make the train. And the rest of the movie follows both Gwyneth Paltrows. The one that missed the train sits and waits for the next one, arrives home at the usual time, and wakes up to a familiar routine the next day. The one that catches the train arrives home early, finds her partner in bed with another woman, and is thrust into a tumultuous journey of life changes and self-discovery. Just like those choose-your-own-adventure books, the audience is given the satisfaction of watching two stories unfold. The satisfaction of answering that ageless question, what if? In life, though, when two roads diverge in a wood, we must choose only one. And although we can peek down each road as far as we can see, we can never know what lays at the end of each. There are many types of regret. There are regrets about the choices we have made, words said in anger, mistakes we would give anything to undo, relationships that are wrong for us. There are regrets about the choices we did not make, risks we did not take, words we did not say, love we did not accept fully. This type of regret can be even more painful than the first because there is not much we can do about what never was. And there are regrets about life circumstances, which we have no control over at all. Illness and violence and being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And yet this torment all stems from that one question, what if? That one wish, if only, if. Regret can be an agonizing thing. Hindsight is 20/20, they say, but let's be gentle with ourselves. We could only peek down each path. We did not know what waited at the end of each one. And even Frost admits the two roads were basically the same. It is only hindsight that makes him think that taking one or the other has made all the difference. He says it with a sigh, leading us to believe that perhaps the other one might have been a better choice. But who knows what lay at the end of that other road? He did not take it. We do not know. We could spend our whole lives living in the what if. But let's be careful and gentle with that too. Living in the what if takes all of our attention and energy away from the what is. You see, we are living in a choose-your-own-adventure story, but the pages are only designed to go forward. If you keep turning back, you miss the rest of the book. 7 years ago, my sister began to not feel well. She saw her primary care physician, specialists, a naturopath. She tried drugs and eliminated foods. Still no answers or solutions. And life went on. She pushed through the pain and discomfort and continuous cough. She took care of her son, fixed up her new house, had a second baby, her daughter, Callie. 2 years later, when they finally discovered the cancer in her throat, it was already stage 4. What if they had caught it earlier? What if it had stopped growing? If they had caught it earlier, maybe she wouldn't have had to have radiation and chemo, the dynamic duo that brought about scar tissue growth, so vigorous that she can now only breathe through a trach tube in her neck. Maybe she would still have a voice. Maybe she would be healthy now, but she wouldn't have a daughter. Earlier detection may have prevented future pregnancy. Certainly it would have prevented the specific pregnancy that produced this particular beautiful spirit of life, sweet, creative, and sensitive Callie. My sister was watching Callie swim in a pond on the 4th of July. We had just been talking about regret. Cancer really sucks, she said. But I would do it all over again to have Callie. I wouldn't trade her for anything. Some days my sister is tempted to live in the what if. But what pulls her back is what is. A daughter swimming like a fish, making joyful noise in the pond in front of her. If we had the ability to go back and change things, the choices we made and didn't make, the information we had and didn't have, the places we were in at the right or wrong times, maybe life would be different. Maybe if we could go back in time and do things differently, we could avoid some pain, some heartache. But some of the blessings that we have received on our journey would be missed also. Actress Drew Barrymore once said, "I never regret anything, because every little detail of your life is what made you into who you are in the end." Every little detail of our life is what made us into who we are right now. The other day, I watched Reverend Kim Crawford Harvey's address to the 2013 graduating class of Concord Academy. She had some wise words to offer the new graduates. She did not read The Road Not Taken. But she did talk some about regret. It wasn't the usual advice, though. She did not say, "Don't do anything you might regret." Instead, she gave them this advice: befriend regret. Whenever possible, befriend regret. One summer, my best friend invited me to go on vacation with her family, she said. I had already committed to other plans. I said no. They were out on the open water in a 60-foot sloop for a week. I missed an amazing time. On a beautiful morning, not long after they returned, her handsome, fit young father sprinted across a tennis court and suffered a fatal heart attack. The boat was sold. For the better part of 40 years now, said Kim, some of my best choices have been informed by the regret of saying no to that last sailing trip. When we befriend regret, she says, we get off the hamster wheel of what might have been, could have been, should have been. Now, when someone invites me to do something fabulous, I do my best to say yes. I commend to you, she said to that room full of young people, the practice of saying yes. When we befriend regret, we can open the gift of the present. Henry David Thoreau said, make the most of your regrets. Never smother your sorrow, but tend and cherish it till it comes to have a separate and integral interest. To regret deeply is to live afresh. Perhaps the yes type of people choose a road and don't look back. Perhaps the no type of people live constantly at the foot of that road not taken, unable to see the joy of the chosen path, clinging instead to what could have been. But the yes maybes, we live with one foot on both. We can say yes to the joys and even the struggles of the present moment, embracing this life we have before us with our fragile faith. And maybe we think sometimes of that other path, the one not chosen, and wonder how things might have been different. But if we are wise, we use that feeling of regret not as a burden to carry with us always, but as a reminder to live afresh, to say yes to the life before us, to turn, hopefully, the next page of the adventure book. If we are wise, we befriend regret and open the gift of the present. Amen, and blessed be.